everybody, and welcome back. I'm not homeless. I'm wearing the same fat shirt. I know it is like so loose on me because I'm not fat anymore. Uh, but it's the same day after reviewing the first Dark Empire because they're comic books. They're a lot shorter than a novel, so it didn't take me as long. But anyway, welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now redubbed by Disney or current Lucasfilm, whatever way you slice it. Legends. Now, before I get into Dark Empire 2, I want to quickly mention a short story that never got released called Lightsider. In Lightsider, there's a Dark Jedi named Cam. He meets Luke and challenges him to fight, but Luke's like, nah, you're going to be a good guy. And then they do some stuff, challenges him to something. I don't know what it was exactly. But basically, by the end of it, Cam's like, alright, I renounce my Dark Jedi ways, and I want you to be my teacher. Because in Dark Empire 2, this guy kind of just shows up, and you're like, where'd he come from? Well, apparently there was some stuff with the person that made Dark Empire or whatever. And if you want to know more about that, I'm going to leave a link in the description to Matt Wilkins' video on Lightsider. But basically, the short story never got released, so you can't actually read it. So, but yeah, it's just a little jarring. But yeah, he just, in between Dark Empire 1 and Dark Empire 2, he met this guy. And now he's an apprentice to Luke, I guess. But yeah. Basically, Dark Empire 2. The Emperor's still alive. He has a new weapon. Again. I don't know if it's powerful enough to destroy a planet, but it can definitely destroy a moon. Luke is trying to rebuild the Jedi Order, and he's finding a couple people. He finds a love interest. We'll get into that in spoilers. Leia finally has Anakin. And by the end of this book... sorry, there's not a lot to talk about. These are the shortest notes I've ever taken when I get into spoilers. But they still need to defeat the Emperor. And the Emperor wants her kids for some reason. I mean, he wanted them in the last book, but he keeps talking about it here. Why is that? We will see in the final book. But yeah, that's non-spoiler. I don't know. Definitely didn't enjoy this as much. I still had fun, though. Like I said, the first one's probably the best out of them, Dark Empire. Dark Empire 2 is not as good, but I would still read this again over the sequel trilogy any day. But yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers now. So if you're interested at all, if you like the last one, you probably are going to want to check this one out. Cedrus is another Dark Jedi that Luke and... that's trying to kill Luke or whatever. Because Emperor's like, go do this. And I forgot to mention Fett in the last book. So Boba Fett was reintroduced for the first time because the short stories had not been written yet. But so first time publication wise, we got to learn that Boba Fett, oh my goodness, he's still alive. He didn't die in the Sarlacc pit. If you're doing this chronologically, I didn't review it, but there is a book series called Tales from Jabba's Palace that has a bunch of short stories within it, dealing with stuff that goes on at Jabba's Palace. One of them even has to do with Mara Jade and her being there trying to kill Luke. The other one takes place a little bit after the movie, episode 6 ends, and it has, it's an entire short story is about Boba Fett escaping from the Sarlacc pit. And then I didn't end up reviewing it because of technical issues, but the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy is mostly in the past because it's a bunch of like flashbacks from the past, but the current day plot line, which isn't very important because it's just Boba Fett recovering from his wounds, but it takes place after episode 6 and he's healing from his wounds because he got out of the Sarlacc pit. So this is the first time we get to see him outside of, first time we get to see him come back and try to attack our heroes. So he wants Han dead, because he's always disliked Han, but he's upset because, he got put into a Sarlacc pit. But yeah, I didn't mention him last book, but he was there. He had a very small role. He had a very small role in this one too, but he did pop up. But I figured I should mention it because I didn't last time. Up next, they go to Osius or whatever, which I have not read, but eventually when I have a job again and I'm able to buy more books and I get through New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, and Crucible, which is the final canonical Legends book before Disney bought it, or not before Disney bought it, there were other books after that, but it was the last book in the chronological order that you would read. Well, then there's Legacy comics, which take place, like it's the grandson or great-grandson of Luke or something like that, Cade Skywalker. But, like, as for Jeana, Solo, and everything, their story ends at Crucible. There's no more. You get to see no more of it, unfortunately. But yeah, so in Tales of the Jedi, that planet is very important, which I haven't read yet, but I will at some point, and we'll get to see the connections there when I get to that. The Galaxy Gun, another weapon, another super weapon. Now, it's one thing to have them in different novels, like I know the Jedi Academy will have one, like a super weapon, and there are other books. Different novels, it's fine. But as this is a sequel to an already story that has a super weapon, I do find it a little ridiculous that it happens twice. I don't hate this story because there's another super weapon. I'm just saying it's a little ridiculous that there's two of them in one continuous storyline. Because I know, like in the Jedi Academy trilogy, there is one, but it's something that's used throughout. That's important during all three novels. It's not like separate ones going on. However, it's a lot like the Starkiller base. Nobody seemed to have a problem with that, so in the sequel trilogy. Luke finds a bunch of natives or whatever on this planet, and some of them join him to help build the future of the Jedi. My only note, it says Dark Rancors. They use Sith alchemy. Rancors are already pretty like, rah, they're scary. Now they're Dark Rancors. Now they're even more ferocious and dangerous. Jason and Jeana. There's just a small scene where they're chilling and having a good time. And I know it's really not important to the plot at all, but I don't know. I'm going to mention every time that they're happy because their future will not be. So I'm going to mention every time that they're just playing and having a good time. Because it won't always be that way. So Luke has a love interest. It's one of the natives that he collects to become a Jedi. I'm all for Luke having romantic relationships before Mara Jade, because if I was reading this chronologically, I would have no idea that they were going to get married. Though I'm sure a lot of people were pushing for it even before they got married. But, because, I mean, obviously, I like Mara, but like the girl in Courtship of Princess Leia, I liked her enough. Like, if Mara Jade didn't exist, I'd be happy with them two together. I had no problem with it. I thought their chemistry was fine. But she ended up getting Isildur, so. But, this lady in this story, it happens so quickly, and there's just no real development with it. It's just like, I want to be a Jedi, Luke, and I want to kiss you, and so they do. And I mean, they make it seem like, oh my gosh, Luke just lost one of the first loves of his life, but it wasn't love of your life. You were horny. I'm sorry. You found her attractive. Fair enough. But you didn't love her. You barely knew her. So, I don't know. If they had fleshed out a bit better, I might have enjoyed it a bit more. But I think this is one thing that I can universally agree on with almost, I think, everyone that talks about these books. I think no one likes her. I don't know. I didn't. It wasn't necessary. Like, it's one thing if it adds to the story, because I felt like it did add to the Courtship of Princess Leia. If she was not in this book, or this comic, it would change practically nothing. nothing. So that's it. My only other note is that Anakin Skywalker is finally born, and Leia even says he'll grow up to be a great Jedi like his father. Though hopefully not exactly like his father, but we know, well, you don't if you haven't read or haven't learned stuff about future events, but he will not become evil, so that's good. Other stuff will happen with Anakin, but again, when I get through it though for the first time, it's still going to be completely new to me because I only know like big stuff that happens, because it's kind of hard when you dive into the EU not to get spoiled, but like I know the big stuff. I don't know like any little stuff in between, but yeah. So now we have all three solo twins, or we have all three solo twins. We have all three solo children now, so that's cool. But anyway, that's the end. We still gotta take out the Emperor, which has not happened yet. But after the next book, or after the next comic book, the Emperor will finally be gone forever. Dunzo. Gone. No more. We will never have a story with him again. He's completely out of the picture. No more Emperor. Now we just have the remnants of the Empire, and then other threats, like the Yusong Vong, and maybe once heroes turned bad. But that is all future times. But join me next time when we get to see the Emperor finally be destroyed forever and ever, never to return. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.